You're listening to the New York Said podcast.
Fear not, my friends. This will be my greatest performance.
Give it to me.
Here we go. We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Talk to me about like one of your first visits to New York, and it was the summer of 2000, I believe. What was that like?
Yeah, it was one of my strongest experiences. First, because of course New York is mecca of graffiti, and we were graffiti writers writing on trains in Europe, and our goal, our dream was to do graffiti on New York subway. So we came there first time in New York. So we were like surprised how it is, or like all what I knew or what we knew, it was like the skyscrapers. But when we come out from the subway station from the airport in Brooklyn, or maybe it was in Queens.
Yeah.
We were like, wow, it's like small houses and like open shops. It looked like almost like in South America.
Mm-hmm.
And it was surprising. And of course, the subway system, it was something amazing what we knew only from the movies. We all lived it. We painted a lot of trains at that time, because we stayed like 3 months in a row. And yeah, it was amazing, because then we come back to Europe with full of it, like we proved that we did the whole cars and everything. So as a writers, like we kind of we become majors. You know what I mean? Like we did it, and it was like, wow, we are on top of the world, which is of course an illusion. But at that time, at that age, it was amazing.
What were some of your early influences as far as like books and films and photography books when it came to graffiti?
Our biggest influence in the beginnings was Berlin, not New York, because Berlin is much closer.
Oh, Berlin, yeah,
like,
Berlin is super creative.
And at that time, like in early 90s, the graffiti scene was super strong. So for all the writers in Prague, the Berlin scene and Berlin style was inspiration. And the Berlin writers, they were inspired by New York, but we were inspired by the Berlin guys. And the books, I think in the real beginnings, I think like the subway art, for example, didn't cross the
Martha Cooper
life.
book. Yeah.
But later on, of course, yes. But I cannot track back then, because in the beginning there was no internet. So our sources of inspiration or information was about only just going to Berlin, or if some friend went to Berlin and he brought a graffiti magazine.
Okay.
So this our inspirations, and later on, of course, we discovered subway art and Star Wars. Much longer before Star Wars movie, I saw Beat Street.
Yeah, I saw Beat Street in the theater, like as a kid. Oh man,
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah.
So it was like huge influence. Even before that, even before I started doing graffiti, I saw a movie, like music video by Malcolm McLaren, Buffalo Girls.
Oh yes, classic.
And I think this was the first time I saw graffiti in TV, seeing like Dundee spraying the buffalo piece. And of course, back then I didn't know who Dundee is, and nothing about the history of graffiti.
So when you first painted cakes on a train in New York, was that something where you kind of like look back and did it take your breath away, or where you're like, yo, I really did this?
Yes, it was. I remember that feeling when we did first whole car in Flushings, like by the Mets Stadium.
Yeah, it looks like the 7 train. I'm looking at the picture right now. It was gold and green.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So I felt like the absolute greatness or the pleasure, the happiness or the fortune that we did it, that we went there like to New York, like, and we fulfill our mission. And so it was like one of the strongest moments from that age in my life that we kind of prove that we can succeed anything. And then basically this kind of experience I transformed into my later life. That like knowing that you are capable of doing anything was pretty important. Like this experience.
It's funny you say that, because I watched that video of you painting that Porsche, and I was like, damn, like there was so many different intricate pieces, and off top of someone who saw the car, they'd be like, oh, it's a nice paint job. But when you watch the video, it was like you had to like take it apart, and it was so many moving parts. So can you talk about, like, with something as intricate as painting that 911, all the pieces and confidence that you even have to get to that point?
Yes. So it's part of the journey, and of course, like painting that 911 is, I use the experience of painting on trains, of course, or it's just part of the journey. Now I don't feel like painting trains anymore. Even it's great, great feeling, right. But I don't have the desire anymore. But like, so the desire, if it's the right word, shifts to different topics or to different targets.
I see that you've evolved like quite a bit. I was looking at this project you did where it looked like you were painting these rocks in the ground, and then like it was cobblestones. And to see you, like, to have these geometric shapes and then to later make a mural, is that how your mind works, where you have to see it tangibly in one medium and then it transfers to another?
Yes, I definitely think so, that the technique, or when you start something new, it influences, for example, my paintings influence the sculptures. Mm-hmm. And for example, back then when I started to do this sculpture graffiti, or like the 3D graffiti, it changed my view to the 2D graffiti. Then I started, like, it was like the gate for abstraction, that then because I started to think about the letters from behind. And of course, like, by painting these cobblestones, maybe later on, like, because they are geometric shapes, so maybe it had a role then, because then I started to paint geometric. Mm-hmm. But maybe not. It's difficult to say, but when you look back, it kind of makes sense, like each step.
I feel like it helps you understand various aspects of shadows, because I'm even when I'm looking at the cobblestones, it's like you can see how the light is hitting the rocks, and it kind of informs how the light would hit these geometric shapes in your mural.
Yeah. Probably yes. It's always like difficult to say or track how something like came out.
Right.
But I can agree. Yeah.
I saw you did a mural called Podzim, and it had this really, surreal Dali-esque. And I don't, I've seen quite a bit of your work, and that's about the only mural that looks that way. Was that just like a one-off thing, or were you painting in that style for a while before you evolved?
To explain, the Podzim means fall, like autumn. Mm-hmm. And I painted the word like Podzim. Its 3D letters are painted in the feeling of fall, of autumn, of this year of this period. So that's why there is a field, but on the field there is like a P, and it looks like that wind is making it. I think I did just this mural on this wall. And from the other side of this building, I painted another one. It's not that good or not that meaningful like as this one. This one was special. It was mural. The first mural I did, even before it was called murals, or how is it, mural or mural?
Yeah, mural. Yeah, it's all good. We get you.
Yeah, okay. It was like in 97. It was like way before we started to paint murals. It was popular between like the ex-writers.
Yeah.
So I was proud about this wall.
It's gorgeous.
And the funny thing is, it still exists. there are a couple of tags on it, but it's still on the place, which is
I feel
like
like it's
20.
probably like a staple of the neighborhood at this point. When I was growing up,
Yeah.
I grew up in Queens, and so like on
Mhm.
Linden Boulevard, right below the Long Island train
Mhm.
tracks, was this mural of these
Uh-huh.
just like these black icons from Queens. So it was like had singers and jazz musicians. It's still there, and I mean, it's one
Uh-huh.
of the very first murals I saw as a kid where I was just like, wow, that's and it wasn't so much like graffiti or writing or that kind. It just was just a gorgeous mural, similar to Podzim, where you just now it's a part of your childhood. It's like we can't destroy this.
There are dorms of students, like student dorms. It's up on
Okay.
a hill,
Yep.
and there are the houses with full of students. And the area like didn't change that much. They didn't build any new buildings around, but they put like a lot of new sport or activity playgrounds around.
Yeah.
But the wall, like this strange little house, which used to be a supermarket, and now I don't know if there are even shops or anything, but the wall is still there. It survived, they didn't break it down.
And I think
I
that's
don't
how
know.
it was back in the days. Like say like now, like you did a wall on Rag and Bone. You did a piece called Back to '60s. Rag and Bone is a
Yeah.
wrap. Like that. I know that wall would change out every few months, but like now the store doesn't even exist there, and that wall has come to become this like free for all.
Yeah, I passed by like last week or 2 weeks ago, and I was like, wow, like the shop doesn't exist anymore. So I was wondering like why did they probably not the good place for the shop? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. That's kind of like how it is in New York. Like sometimes you'll be walking and you're like, damn, that's gone. Or you'll come up and be like, damn, this is here. There's been times where I've walked into a block and I've been like, how long have you been here? I love this store. And they're like, 19 years. And I'm like, I've walked down this block 1,000 times. I've never seen you. So it's like that's just what New York does is like Rag and Bone had a good run, and I know quite a few artists that have painted that wall, but like what it looks like now is just crazy.
Yeah, just nothing, empty. And actually, the space is empty. There is no
Yeah,
other
there's
shops
nothing
instead.
there. Because a lot of times, many of these, not to like get distracted, but a lot of these shops will be like, all right, to the next person that's gonna come in here, yeah, they're gonna spend $27,000 a month. Like the rate, like the what they want to charge a month is just so outrageous. Like that could push out
Yeah.
a company, even if they're doing well. They're just like, hey, we got to raise your rent. There's some monstrosity of payment that you can't even pay. Like you're gonna break even every time. So like, what's the point of having a business? And that's becoming pretty
Yeah.
common in the city. But I didn't want to go into that. What I want to go into is you're very, very, very hands-on. I saw and I might be pronouncing this wrong, is Arrhenius Bulla, the multimedia installation.
Oh yeah, like this like latest installation I did.
Yeah, in October. You are out there. Like you're not just like standing around like, yeah, move it over to the left. Like you are in there getting your hands dirty. Meaning like you're cutting wood, you're helping with the installation. Can you talk about being hands-on with your art?
Yeah, like I wish I stand aside and I say just like my guys like hey like move it to there and there, but I still like keep being involved like physically, like
Uh-huh.
to show them that I'm really involved, that I'm not like just sitting and directing them. And uh and also it like because I did such a large installation after quite a while, because last years I did so many exhibitions
Mm-hmm.
in various cities around the world, but mostly paintings. And it's like doing painting. It's amazing because you are like it's like comfort zone in your studio. You can paint, and but like doing something large, it's much more work, and it's much more physical. And I kind of like forget about that, or like I was like happy to have this chance to take part in this in this festival, to create that, because it brought me like back to this like building something, and which I would really like to do some more in the future. Of course, I would be happier if it's from better material, and it will stay somewhere longer, or it is part of architecture. but I hope it will happen in future. But yes, I'm not afraid to show that the physical work is not bad.
Yeah, because even in the Porsche video, you were right there painting all aspects of it, and I mean you had a team, no doubt, but you was doing like a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, like the Porsche, like the Porsche, like it's my gradient, so it's my skills. So I did everything by myself. I mean, of course, like I didn't disassemble the car, but I paint all that. I would not let anyone else to paint my gradient
Right.
on my car. Of course, that there was then the lacquer guy who put the clear coat on it, but I did it. So yeah, like. Doing art, it's physical, and I think it's not bad to keep it in that way until a certain point. Like sometimes, like somebody could be ashamed, like that, showing that like he's like really like working
Right.
by hand. But I think it's nothing wrong about that.
I also like how even the way you approach your canvases, I shouldn't even say I love the way you approach your canvases where it's just not this straight on geometric. Some people may visit a circle or a square or a rectangle. Like when you take a look at, say, like Kaleidoscope 623, it's an abundance of various shapes that already in themselves are unique. And then for you to build on said shape on several canvases, how did you come up with that concept? Is that something that you created, or is that something that you've seen and adapted?
I came to that point it was an evolution by doing this custom shaped canvases, and by doing like first I started with circles, then little imperfect circles, and then it lead up into like more difficult shapes.
Yep.
But it was still like one or two shapes, and I was like, thinking, how can I break the surface of the organic shape? And I like this kaleidoscope came across to my mind that did like the kaleidoscope breaks the picture in different parts, but symmetrically. So I created this kaleidoscopic images, and I played around in computer and did it. But by thinking of doing this custom shape canvas in like silhouette of the kaleidoscope, and then just paint these little parts in it, it would not make that same impression, I think. Instead of like just like each part is one canvas, if you know what I mean. It's really divided because it's like physical little pieces putting together, and they are like creating this composition. If this would be just one canvas, it would like look pretty similar, but not you would not have this feeling of collage of like really different pieces.
And then the way you painted each one, where it's almost feeling like the canvas above is lighting the canvas below. Even though it's stepping away from, I guess, the organic feel of what a traditional canvas will look like, it even feels even more organic because of the roundness and just even how cells are made.
Yeah, like this. Yeah, this should be organic, and also by painting the shapes, it just naturally gives more depth or more uncertain. Like what is it like if it's like top part or bottom part, or it's pretty interesting like to see how the paint affects the light and shadow. In the bottom part, if the lighter color looks much darker, and if you put dark color, it looks even darker and it looks almost like it's underneath. Yes, so just like playing around with color and shapes.
And then the point bird. Like I've been staring at the sculpture, and I've seen you've had several iterations from bronze to glass to like even really big outdoor sculptures. How did the point bird come to be? And can you talk about how you change up the texture and the medium that you use to create this sculpture?
Originally, like the point bird, like I created first first ones. I mean, the first shapes in I think 2005, 2006, and it was meant as like as a 3D tag, which I placed around the city. So I created like 100 pieces made out of gypsum, and I stick them in a with a glue around the city on a corner.
Wait, did you stick a few around New York too?
I stick like I think two of them or three because I brought them with my suitcase. I stick one in by Ted Screw in Bronx on their building,
Okay.
and then one by Williamsburg Bridge by where at that time like Kring had his studio, and but they didn't last long. Here and there in Berlin, I did I think 25, but mostly in Prague. So this was the initial project that putting it around the city. Then I repeat this action in like maybe 2008, and after years, maybe in 2018 again. And after that, I realized that I'm not street artist anymore, and I have to think differently. So I take the shape and like make it really big, or now I use the shape and try to do it out of glass and out of bronze. So it's a sculpture which has a meaning, like bigger meaning for people who remember this street art interventions back in the days, mostly in my country.
I don't want to brush over the fact that you just said I knew I wasn't a street artist anymore. What happened? Like I know life happens and we get older and bills happen and kids happen and we get married and all these things. But like what was that defining point where you were like, I think I might need to do some restructuring?
It was at that time when I think when I was doing, we were preparing like book, like biographic book, and I had this I planned my solo exhibition in Prague, and I before that I wanted to repeat these street interventions with the point birds. I created like 50 out of gypsum again. We paint them in the studio, and then we went with a car and placed them around Prague. And by doing it, like when we were like going with the car around the streets and looking for the good spots and placing them with my assistants, I realized that it's not possible because it costs so much money, like to do to just place around things for free around the city, and it's not
Right.
sticker. It's a sculpture that I realized that it just doesn't work. That I'm somewhere else, that I cannot do it anymore. Because the time counts, like every hour counts, and like
And every piece of paint and medium and whatever you're using to create such art, all that shit costs.
yeah. So just like giving it out to the street, I already gave enough, and I just felt that it doesn't work anymore. I mean, for me and for the people who see it, they of course they like it, but it was like almost, I don't know, 15, 20 years after like the first ones, but the progress is not doing the same again and again. The progress is like to shift it somewhere else. So I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I do something else. If so, then I do the huge point, and I place it on the building, which we did it.
Making your way into the galleries, I also saw that you just don't put paintings in galleries. You create, similar to what the sculpture we were talking about earlier that was out in the street, you create these 3D experiences or sculptures within your art that may be hanging, or it's in various ways. Your approach to the gallery work, has that evolved as well?
Yeah, you mean the gallery work? How it is evolved? Like now, I'm thinking that I should focus also more on sculptures or installations. It's something what is really great, because the installation, for example, in a private gallery is something different than you would show in museum or institution. And also, like, by doing various exhibitions, I try to avoid of repeating myself. I'm trying to, of course,
Keep it
it's
fresh.
difficult, but keep it. I always would like to show something new, but sometimes it's difficult. So, or difficult. Yeah, I'm just trying to always, like, at least in every show, like, to show something new.
The last question that I have for you is, throughout these various iterations of your artistic journey, what has been one of the most important lessons that you've learned as an artist?
I think it's good to doubt, but I think not that much, because sometimes in the beginnings I was like doubting, and then you like think, should I do it or should I not to do it? I think it's always better, like, to do the things and
Mm-hmm.
find out what works and what doesn't work, than like think about and if to do it, and because it slows down, if sometimes, of course, it's important to think, but sometimes the overthinking, I think it's better to find out along the way, like by creating what I what I see, like in now in my stage, that of course, like, I also like think and overthinking, but sometimes it's probably better, like, just do it somehow and make it work.
Right. I read a book called Art and Fear, and that's basically the book. What the book said, it was like, all the answers that you need to know are you're gonna get from doing the work. The work is gonna tell you everything you need to know, even if you have to do it more than once. Where I'm looking at your mini black vibration pocket painting, and it seems like it's a piece of a bigger painting or similar. Like, I've seen what you did with
Yeah,
yeah. So it's like, it may look good. It may look a certain way when it's big, and it may look a certain way by itself. So I mean, having that freedom to experiment and do what it is that you want to do is, I think that's one of the best parts of being an artist.
art is about, like, discovering.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be all certain and predictable.
Right.
you you have to you have to have the freedom and actually the pleasure to discover something new, and by doing it. But yeah, like, it's fair to say that it's difficult, like, it's not easy, like, to do something uncertain and invest, like, do proper things. It everything's costs, it costs
Yeah.
money.
That's what you said
Then
about in that Porsche video. You was like, this was a very expensive art project.
yeah, and it was like, yeah, it was just a lesson, or it was challenging, like,
Yeah.
challenging for me, and I overcome it, and then I'm on, like, then I get further on the level,
I think so. I think it's like creative puzzles. You're like, how do I figure this out? Because if you really like that, I'm looking at just a whole page of things that I've added to Notion when I wanted to have things that I wanted to talk about with you, but it has pictures. So I'm like, you had to figure out, like, how does this wood work? How does this paint work? How do these colors work with each other? How do these canvases form? How do I play with, brass as opposed to glass with, bronze as opposed to glass with a point bird. So, like, all these various materials and things that you have to find yourself in, and then at the same time you have to figure it out to make sure that it's worth the investment in time when you make it, available to the public.
everything comes out of the things before. I mean, like, everything connects with everything.
Yep.
So it's just like a ball that you are, like, pushing, and it's getting bigger and bigger. I don't know, but it's, yeah, like, it works. It's adventure. It's adventure, and I wish, like, to even create more. Sometimes I feel like, wow, like, I didn't, I could do more, or I have to come up with something better, bigger. But
that's incredible. That you still have that hunger, because you're extremely prolific. Like you have like a substantial amount of work, and for after all these years, for you to still feel like there's still more to be made. That's saying something.
It's like when you look around at the art on the art or at the artists around. I mean, like the big ones, like you are like, wow, like fuck, I have to do more.
Right.
I'm still like small.
Nah.
So it's challenging.
Yeah, and this has been extraordinary. Like, thank you for taking your time to kick it with us. Is there any last words, anything that you want to say before we get out of here?
Thank you for your time, and thank you for being interested in my work and like hi New York. Like I'm glad if somebody like listened it until now, and thank you so much.
Perfect.